Main character, Kang Yujong, a guy who has one of the strongest genomes for transforming into a tiger, but is a loser and a virgin. He does not have the ability to transform into a wild animal. Because of this, he ranks last in the rankings. He will have to go through hell and the most difficult trials in order to become a powerful beast of level 99. The action of today's manhwa begins in Seoul, or more precisely in the area and district of Predators, in a random abandoned building. Approaching the scene, we observe hooligans who are trying to look cool inside this abandoned building. After a while, a bully with blonde hair throws off his cigarette and, approaching the corner, warns his guys that someone is coming towards them. Hearing a warning from their little brother, the two used their genomes and turned into beasts. A guy with a dog genome and an eye patch told his kangaroo friend that he hoped their next victim would have a fat wallet. This entire crowd, having already transformed into their animal forms, were ready to meet their new prey. Some were already starting to warm up. The guy with the kangaroo genome looked around the corner to visually assess the new victim. Judging by his face, he was confident in his abilities. However, after the kangaroo managed to take a short look, he immediately realized that their victim was clearly too tough for them, and he immediately returned around the corner. This guy immediately notified his gang that they were trying to run into the apex predator. He said that they should run as quickly as possible. After a couple of seconds, there was no trace left of these formidable hooligans, because as soon as they stumbled upon the apex predator, they immediately ran away. Meanwhile, the apex predator who caused this gang of bandits to scatter contentedly walked along the street and enjoyed the clear weather in Seoul. After a while, the bully with the rat genome looked around the corner to check if the apex predator had left. He wondered why he had come to such a wilderness. The little rat was especially angry, because just recently the top predators had taken a whole bunch of money from him. At that moment, they even locked eyes. The guy with the dog genome also recently had bad luck, because out of shame he had to cover up with his bad eye, but in fact, it was a sophomore who did it. Predator High School is a school that is also known as the largest bandit school in all of Korea. This school, unlike other educational institutions, is entirely owned by 3 generations of predators: a tiger, a lion, and a bear. This school is also known for the fact that it is attended by students whose background, to put it mildly, leaves much to be desired. Bandits, robbers, and so on. One of the authorities of this school reached such heights that even adults, at the sight of their symbol of a blue tie, preferred to bypass them. According to the dog guy, the more he thought about it, the more it pissed him off. And the guy with the gopher genome suggested attacking him because he was all alone. After the proposal to attack a lone apex predator, these 4 guys gathered in a circle and seriously thought about it. The next moment we understand that they began to implement it, appearing in front of the guy they doubted that he was really an apex predator. When this guy asked what they wanted, the gang of pseudo-predators replied, "Isn't it clear to him?" They were going to rob him. The next moment, the furious kangaroo lunged with his steel bat. During the blow, he shouted that he owed them money. However, the guy, in response to this attack, opened his furious orange eyes of a Sigma predator and immediately calculated all the movements of the idiot. The next moment, the kangaroo receives a powerful retaliatory blow right in the face. This blow is so powerful that it sends it flying. After the recently flying guy's friends saw this guy's strength, their confidence immediately multiplied by 0, and they were all scared and dumbfounded. If these idiot bandits had been a little more observant, they would have noticed this guy's golden eyes, which indicated that he possessed the tiger genome. After these bandits realized, albeit a little late, that a guy with the rare tiger genome appeared before them, they realized that there was only one way against this. Despite the fact that the guy apologized for sending their friend flying, these 3 used the famous technique of the Joestar family, tactical escape. After some time, these cowards ran away and left their friend. The apex predator looked at the friend they left. He was passed out. The apex predator is noble. After he approached the body of their friend, he picked it up, threw the body onto his shoulder, and wondering who was running away, carried the body. Placing the guy he sent into a deep sleep on a nearby bench, he suggested that apparently apex predators still have a very bad reputation. After this guy with black hair dealt with the bully's body and realized what was what, he went off into the distance with the thought that he would have a lot of work this year. Then the course of events is interrupted and we move back a year to the largest school of predators in which ranks are distributed every year. It's been 2 months since the last rank distribution ended. This event was held exclusively for newbies. Next we move to room 1-1, which currently houses the weakest first-year group, number 1. We see in front of us a guy from the first group, 22nd rank. His name was Kang Yujong. He was not a member of any pack. His transformation genome was a tiger. Apparently he was a local loser, because then we saw how they gave him a powerful slap on the head and called him a kitten. However, Kang Yu-jung does not respond to his offender. Instead, he endures all the pain and does not show any emotions. Next, the sender of that same slap tells him that the back of his head was asking for it. This guy's name was Park Dassel, his leopard transformation gene. He likes being called a kitten. They say he doesn't like it. Let him say so. The guy, opening the eye of our main character, asks him if he definitely has the tiger genome because he suspects that he simply colored his eyes. Next, this bully opens Kang Yu-jung's eye and tries to color his eye with a black felt-tip pen because he is wondering whether the color will change or not. However, despite the fact that our main character is not a gigachad, he still is not going to endure so much. He closes his eye, telling the bully that he does not need to do this. But in order to give such an answer, he had to be ready to stand up for himself after that, because in the next moment he receives a powerful blow. After our main character falls to the floor, the guy with the leopard genome starts seeing a soccer ball in her head and starts playing soccer. Having suppressed our protagonist's attempt to stand up for himself, he was clearly dissatisfied. This upstart finally told Kang Yu-jung that he had only ruined his mood. This guy's inner artist just couldn't calm down, because after he failed to paint Kang Yu-jung's eye, he continued trying to draw. After a few moments, the guy did a huge service to our main character by making him a real tiger, so that everyone would immediately understand who they were dealing with. After this series of bullying, our main character gets up from the floor and begins to walk towards the exit. He is already limping. However, he doesn't even manage to leave the class calmly, because another guy stops him, asking where he's going. Our main character explains to this guy, pointing his finger at his face, that he needs to go to the toilet in order to wash this work of art off his face. Next, this bully named Josu, with the type of transformation into a wild boar, politely asked the tiger if he had money for lunch in order to help him out. Josu asked for as much as 50,000 won, but our protagonist only had 10,000 with him, and when he handed this money, Josu immediately snatched it. After the guy received money for his lunch, another bully with a blonde haircut sent our protagonist flying in the next instant. While in flight, our fierce and cool tiger, on his way to the toilet, did a favor for the school cleaning lady by wiping the floor with his body. A guy from the Josu pack named Magwan had the ability to transform into a horse. He was insulted that his boss only received 10,000 for his lunch. Meanwhile, Josu, helping our main character get up, asked his henchman if he was a fool because he had no reason to beat this guy so hard. Josu explained this to his henchman, saying that Yu-jung understands everything and therefore he will definitely get another 40,000 of the missing money. Yu-jung briefly agreed. As you have already noticed, our main character confidently occupied the very last place in the coolness rating in his first year. Looking at himself in the mirror, Yu-jung bared his teeth and called all his offenders freaks because the fact that he is a tiger does not give them such an opportunity to mock him. Then the course of events is interrupted and we move into the past, or more precisely into the course of high school. The man reports that Yu-jung is a tiger, and he cannot do anything about it. However, the father of our main character objects, saying that his son cannot turn into a tiger, so this is not a problem. Despite the words of our protagonist's father, the man opens Yu-jung's personal file and says that he transformed in 7 years, and if there is a record of the transformation in 10 years. Just like any of the 3 main predators, he has no choice, and they have to go to a high school for predators. The father again objects, saying that his son is kind. Even though Yu-jung really couldn't transform, he was one of the top 3 predators, and this led to him being accepted into the worst school. And for a guy who can't transform, it was like a death sentence in a courtroom, because he was the most desirable target of any other predator. From his first day at Predator High School, our main character did everything he could to get transferred to another place, but he couldn't achieve anything. But fortunately, no one touched him in the first semester, and this was because he had golden eyes, the symbol of a tiger. All this continued until the class teacher appeared and announced to everyone that our main character does not know how to transform. And it was from that unfortunate moment that all the other students seemed to take aim at our main character. At that moment, from the most untouchable student in this class, he slid to the very bottom of the food chain. He became the biggest loser. Returning to the present time and watching Yu-jung wash off his tiger makeup, he is already on the edge because of these unbearable predators. Looking at himself in the mirror near the sink, the guy wonders why he was born a tiger. However, the guy immediately drives away this thought and kneads his face like dough. He understands that it is not his fault, and the point is not at all that he is a tiger. While washing his face, the guy sincerely doesn't understand why the bullies in his class want to bully people so much. He wonders if they really like it. Further, our protagonist's mental conversation with himself is interrupted by the fact that a window behind him breaks and a person jumps out. Immediately after the first jump, another one follows him. Students with the genome of turning into hyenas jump out of the windows one after another. Then a guy with a hedgehog genome lands on the ground. Yujong stands behind all this time and watches what is happening. A few moments later, two guys with the hyena genome attack the bully with the hedgehog genome together. The first hyena screams at the hedgehog to let go of his quills. Next, the two of them ask this guy if he really thought that they wouldn't get to him, after which the two carry out a joint attack right at the hedgehog's torso. After receiving a joint blow from the hyenas, the guy with the hedgehog genome immediately loses his form, and returning to human form, rolls on the ground. Next, these two make a soccer ball out of him, and offer him to either show off further or work for them. The second hyena is happy that school is fun. Meanwhile, our main character, who all this time has been watching the joint beating of the hedgehog, agrees with sarcasm, saying that school is really fun. Leaving the scene of the crime, the guy catches himself thinking that this is really just such a school, and there really is nothing unusual about it. Returning to class and approaching his desk to sit down, the guy once again feels sorry for himself, wondering why he was born a tiger and ended up here. Having reached his place, the guy who is doing makeup on the face of our main character asks him why he erased his work of art. After this distressed artist approaches Yujong and once again forces our protagonist's organs to have a party inside his body. The guy once again felt like an alpha gigachad, and standing in front of Yujong asks him if he forgot how the ranking system works in their class. Suddenly, this guy is interrupted by some guy behind him. The leopard turns back in surprise to see who called him. The one who called the bully was the class teacher of the next group, so he said to wipe the board without giving him the opportunity to answer. He said if he understood everything, let him shut up. The guy is not going to answer in any way, because he himself spoke quite recently about the ranking system, in which he himself is only in 18th place. Sitting back down in his seat, the guy with short hair says that even he should be more careful with the class teacher. This guy was Wu Zhonghua. He is one of the strongest in the first year. He is not part of a pack, so he has the lowest rank after our main character. His transformation type is a wolf. Our main character does not understand why, but for some time now he has been constantly protected by the same Wu Zhonghua. Yujong sincerely thinks he is very cool. He himself also wants to someday become as cool and strong as his protector. After some time, the course of events moves forward several hours. The weather in Seoul is just as clear. We watch as two predators, having transformed into their certified forms, measure their strength in an equal fight. While these two continue to exchange blows of equal strength, these two miss blows equally. We understand that right now it is a physical lesson. Meanwhile, our main character is apparently just sitting in the stands and silently watching the endless fights of his classmates. Two of our main character's classmates are getting hot and they decide to approach our main character. He is wary. Next, one of them hands our main character 10,000 won and tells him to go buy something to drink, definitely something sweet. After Yujong receives money from this guy, he examines the money and realizes that it is the same bill that was taken from him today. After a while, Yujong understands that even though he has his money in his hands, he can't do anything about it, and he will have to carry out the order. Meanwhile, somewhere in the shadows, a guy with a leopard genome is discussing with someone that Zhonghua has cattle, which is a lone wolf. These two bullies wonder how long their headman will ignore that annoying Wu Zhonghua. He was especially infuriated by the fact that Zhonghua had almost the lowest rank, but even despite this, they did not touch him. The guy reported that they needed to do something about it. Meanwhile, this upstart predator notices our main character, who runs away to buy something to drink as he was asked. This guy understands that it is simply vital for him to stop him in order to get to the bottom of it. After which, when he catches up with him, he asks where he lathered up. Yujong answers the bully honestly. He tells him that Josu asked him to buy him a drink, that's why he goes to buy him a drink. However, this turn of events did not suit this guy. He asked him to come up to him for a minute because he was bored. Our main character was not eager to approach this guy, and this was clearly visible from his posture and facial expression. But this guy with the genome of turning into a leopard didn't care at all, you tell him, and he sends you to sweep the dust on the floor. Approaching Yujong, who is lying on the ground, he informs him that in their group there is a real mess in the ranking system, because even the trash does not know who is higher than whom. The guy was so excited about the fun he was about to have that his eyes turned red because he had recently been interrupted by Wu Zhonghua. While the two were patiently waiting for their trusty drink courier, they wondered where he was. Suddenly, Josu asked his friend to look somewhere. Looking to the side, they see the same guy with the leopard genome mercilessly beating their drink delivery man. Our main character tries to cover himself with his hands using a blind defense, but even this does not allow him to defend himself. Suddenly, these two approach the guy who is beating our main character, They tell him that in fact they sent him for water and whether he got something wrong. A guy with an awkward hairstyle compliments his brother's words by saying that the idiots with low ratings are already completely insolent. Suddenly, these two who were beating our main character were very surprised by what was said. They could not believe their ears. Turning around, the guy used the eyes of a predator and mewing. Then he asked the two guys if they wanted to challenge the order established at the beginning of the semester. The guy even offered to fight to find out who was in what place, but the guy with the scar was only amused by this. Meanwhile, the guy continued to attack those who interrupted him. I asked what they were waiting for. He told them to attack or get out of here. The guy standing on the left was offended by this tone and was ready to fight, but the other guy stopped him and asked him to calm down. However, the guy in a rage turned to Park Dassel, saying if he continues to listen only to Park Johan, then he will pay dearly for it. Next, we look at Park Johan, who was recently discussed. He is also from the first group and is at rank 15. His transformation gene is Rhinoceros. This thug simply cannot help but admit that these two are already talking too much, so he gives freedom to his watchdog. After the guy with the scar noticed that these two were trying to fight, he realized that he didn't want this now, so he had to come up with something. Next, this guy simply walked past these two dudes and answered their challenge that he was not hungry. Instead, it would be better to compete on their bag. Park Dassel didn't understand what this dude with the scar was talking about. He asked him what the hell he meant. After this, the guy with the scar takes our main character into his grip and says that this is now their pair. The smiling guy continues explaining the rules. The one who sends him to bed first wins. Yujong was dumbfounded by this turn of events. However, Park Dassel was at least satisfied with this and he was not at all against it, saying that it sounded very interesting. But our main character was obviously not at all happy with this option. In his thoughts, he begged for these hooligans to fight among themselves. But unfortunately, this crowd had long since lost the idea of fighting among themselves, and they began to look at our main character as if he were a bunny driven into a corner. The course of events is interrupted again, and we move into the past. Memories when our main character was 7 years old in the winter. We see bloody paws. We are watching our main character who for the first time was able to transform into a beast. And as we have already understood, this was not without casualties. At that moment, the noises and figures around our protagonist became unclear, his memories turning blood red. After this red color, the memories disappear completely, as if they were cut out. But one thing was sad. It was impossible to remember even the last words of the mother. From that day on, our protagonist could no longer turn into a beast. Meanwhile, we return to the harsh present time. Our main character, lying on the asphalt, at some point realizes that he can no longer breathe. However, the crowd doesn't care about this at all. These guys only care about the fact that if they take turns hitting, then the last one will have a head start. As a result, he will be at a disadvantage. But Park Dassel didn't care about this at all. He reminded the guy that when they set the rules, he was generally silent, but now he is saying something against it. Meanwhile, the main character understood that this bunch of scum decided to make him lose consciousness, and they also bet on food from the store. They dealt the most powerful blows one after another, one blow at a time, and Park Dassel even managed to mock him by calling him a kitten when delivering blows. Continuing to deliver the most powerful blow after blow, he mocked, saying that it would not hurt to pump up his stamina because he was already on the 14th blow. This same blow was stronger than the previous ones because it once again sent our long flight professional on a memorable flight. Lying on the ground once again, Yojong realized that if this continued, he might even die. He thought about pretending to be unconscious. But our main character almost immediately abandoned this stupid idea because he remembered that in the past he had already tried to escape by pretending to be unconscious. Last time it was not successful because of this, they got even more angry with him and beat him even more. Meanwhile, Park Dassel felt just great, because just recently he was very angry with that idiot Wu Zhonghwan, but now he feels good. Suddenly, the guy with the scar told Dassel that sometimes when you look at them, they seem normal. Then he suggested that they unite their packs. The guy with the blonde hair presented this idea as a very good one, because by teaming up, they could immediately rise to second place in their group. The dude with the scar added that if they find someone else in their flock, they will become the Sigma leaders of the first group. The second leader of the gang could not help but admit that this was a very interesting idea, but there was one snag that bothered him. A guy with a large build asked if they united into one pack, then who would then be the leader of this pack? The guy with the scar was not taken aback and, pointing his finger at Yu Zheng, who had risen from the asphalt, said that they only had one blow left on the punching bag to resolve the issue. The guy with the scar clarified his version by saying that whoever knocks out our main character will become the main one. At this moment, our main character hoped only for something to stop all this, because he was already tired of wondering how much longer he could endure all this. Next, the guy began the process of transformation because no one said that they couldn't be reincarnated. At that moment, Yu-jung realized that these were real scumbags. At this moment, even Park Da-sol realized that it was impossible to do this. But the wild boar responded that it was necessary to establish normal rules. When the blow was about to collide with our main character, he once again wondered why he had to endure all this. In the next moment, the poor fellow was already on his way to fly numerous times with his destination asphalt. This time, with his flight, he broke all previous records in his career because this time he flew tens of meters. Our main character did not understand how it was possible to reincarnate and attack a person with all his might. It was Yu-jung who suggested that he had mayonnaise in his head instead of brains. The blonde, approaching the body of our protagonist, was surprised, because even this powerful blow in the body of the beast he endured, at this time Yu-jung was dizzy. Meanwhile, another dude had already transformed into his rhino form, becoming several times larger. He told the other dudes to leave. At the moment of receiving the blow, the main character was thinking about what if he had a chance to change the damn reality. Seeing this abnormally powerful blow, Park Da-sol was sure that this was a 100% loss of consciousness and a victory for their flock. However, what this boy saw next amazed him, and he simply could not believe his eyes and realized that this was reality. At that very almost dying moment, our main character randomly reincarnated into a tiger. Next, our main character in the form of a tiger instantly moved to the annoying Park Da-sol and grabbed him by the shoulder. He didn't even have time to realize what was happening. The next moment, this upstart receives a blow from the huge paw of our protagonist of incredible power. This incredibly powerful blow causes this idiot to instantly lose consciousness in flight, the tiger entering berserk mode. Then this crazy tiger seemed to lose control of himself. He furiously shouted at these dudes to fight properly. But alas, all this is not reality, but the cherished dreams of our main character. After a while, he returns to consciousness due to the fact that the hooligans are checking whether he is alive. These hooligans admire this guy's endurance because few can withstand such a blow. At this moment, Yu-jung is especially upset. Next, these hooligans calmly prepare to leave, due to the fact that one of them is hungry, and Yu-jung continues to lie on the ground. In the next frames, we watch this new flock enter the classroom. They discuss how great they relieved the stress on our main character. The guy with the scar says that he even doubts whether he will be able to get to the audience, but Park Da-sol says that if he were in his place, he would have dropped out of school altogether. A guy who usually stands up for our main character hears all this and knows how to turn into a wolf. After hearing this strong man with a calm face rushes to check our main character and whether he is even alive. Having gone down to the courtyard of the school where physical education is always held, this guy begins to shake his head in search of Yu-jung. After some time, he immediately notices legs sticking out of the bush. Apparently, Yu-jung is lying there. Immediately running up to the body of our main character, he observes all the beatings left to him by the same hooligans who recently entered the class. Having examined all the damage caused to our main character, Woo Jong-woo understands that this will not work, and these scumbags must answer for their actions. After this, the guy with gray hair returns to class. He has some kind of red spot of unknown origin on his back. Entering the audience, this guy immediately moves to look for those offenders. Having found them, he stops in front of them and addresses them. He tells them to transform, or let them not be offended if he beats them in human form. Meanwhile, the hooligans do not understand what he is talking about. When time to think runs out, Jong-woo springs into action, starting the fight by introducing the blonde bully to his leg. After this, the blonde bully goes flying around the audience with the gray wolf's shoes. Woo Jong-woo continues to tell them to transform. After the other three transform into their beast forms, they begin to surround the intercessor for our main character. The first to attack is Park Da-sol, who, having turned into a leopard, lunges towards Woo Jong-hwa because he has long wanted to kill him. But Woo Jong-hwa, being at a different level of strength, instantly changes sides and manages to react to the attack that they tried to throw at him from behind. Making a powerful counterattack, the guy says that he doesn't like him because he thinks a lot about himself. That's why he got punched in the face now. Next, the guy who was kicked at the beginning turns into a horse and, due to the effect of surprise, manages to strike. The horse continues to inflict a flurry of attacks with its legs. It asks the wolf if he really expected to defeat 4 animals at once. However, instead of empty words, Woo Dwan-ha silently lunges towards the insolent horse and grabs him by the collar with incredible speed. Then, after the capture is successful, the wolf throws the horse against the wall with incredible force, saying that he doesn't like him because he's pretending to be strong. Then, in a fit of revenge, the wild boar lunges towards the wolf, saying that today the end of his life will come. However, the wolf has such incredible strength that it is able to stop the enormous pressure of a wild boar with less weight. Having stopped a wild boar, he immediately shows who is in charge on the battlefield by carrying out a powerful blow with his knee to the face. Using the star stand technique, Platinum Wolf unleashes a barrage of merciless blows, saying that he doesn't like him because he looks like a freak. However, the wild boar turns out to be not so helpless in this confrontation. He manages to fight back with head blows to the wolf. The wolf avoids the next attack, but a sneaky attack from behind from a huge rhinoceros awaits him, which can cause colossal damage. But Wu Zhonghu, possessing incredible speed and incredibly sensitive reflexes, manages to avoid an attack even from a blind spot. This guy has such incredible strength that in addition to avoiding the blow, he manages to get behind the rhinoceros and deliver a powerful blow. The rest of the guys who are in this class are rejoicing. They clearly like watching this battle of 1 against 4. Only the woman is surprised. After Wu Duanhu gave these losers a good beating, they stopped carrying out attacks and silently listened to the wolf's next brilliant phrase. Wu Zhongwo said that he doesn't like all of them for another very important reason, because they are all absolute scum and losers. After this provocative phrase, pure hell breaks out in the classroom. The fight goes so far that even the door takes damage and loses the fight for life. There, while in the first aid post, our little tiger cub suddenly regains consciousness. He doesn't remember at all how he ended up here, because he was on the street. After Yu Jung comes to his senses and realizes what is happening around him, Wu Tu Huo, who also received damage in a battle against 4, comes into his room. Yu Jung is surprised that the loner gray wolf himself comes to his room. However, the guy goes inside and advises Yu Jung not to look in the mirror. After some time, our protagonist Sherlock's critical thinking kicks in, and he realizes that Wu Duangwu brought him here and thanks him for it. The guy, smiling, says that he probably feels embarrassed because he suddenly became kind to him. He explains this is the pace that all the time he just wanted to talk to him. At this moment, the guy's mood immediately rises. The gray wolf asks for forgiveness for being a little late, and Yu Jung asks him what's wrong with his face. From this angle, we observe that this Sigma practiced mooning. He replies that nothing terrible happened. Next, we watch a completely new gang who, after a visit to Udvanvo, made a joint decision to arrange a quiet hour, but the wolf himself says that he only talked to them. Having heard about what Wu Duangwu was doing, the main character is very surprised. He is not completely stupid and understands that this guy did not talk to them at all over a cup of tea. Duangwu admits that he really took revenge for him. The girls in the class of these guys at this time are curiously studying the soundly sleeping guy. Yu Jung was very grateful to this guy, but he sincerely did not understand why they were helping him. Perhaps he was protecting him in order to demand money. The guy thinks about all the possible options, but exhausted, he decides that the easiest way would be to muster the confidence to ask directly. Having gained strength, Yu Jung looks at Duanwo and thanks him again and says that he was always very curious why he was protecting him. Assuming the possibility that this guy has been guarding our main character all this time in order to later take money for it, Yu Jung immediately warns that he has nothing. However, this question did not embarrass this dude at all. He immediately replied that if he tells, it will not be interesting, but if Yu Jung listens to the request, he will tell. Hearing such a strange request, the guy gets a little lost and asks the gray wolf what he means by the request, dramatically turning his back on our main character Duanghua. He says that something has been bothering him for a long time and it cannot be postponed. Suddenly it is revealed that this guy has been a public figure of the school of predators all this time, and his power was S-class. He invites the guy to gather his pack and become Sigmas. And the request itself was that our main character be the first to join this new pack, which in the future will become the most powerful. The course of events is interrupted and we watch a beaten rhinoceros smoking. He says that the struggle for ranks was ruined and there is a mess everywhere, and Yonghua is to blame. This feeble pack, having lost to one man, is so desperate that a dude with the wild boar genome invites them to team up with Joe Sanho's pack again. He explains his desperate decision by saying that he simply cannot be in the same place with that idiot Wu Zhonghua anymore. Beaten dogs hiding in the toilet from a Gigachad Zhonghua understands that they are in too bad a state and it is necessary to unite with another pack. Then these guys, beaten by one person, all go together to the leader of the pack with whom they want to unite. There is no longer any confidence on their faces. After these dudes reach the leader of the pack, we watch as the leader, sitting on a box, is surrounded by his faithful henchmen. Approaching the leader, we understand that he has a very muscular build. His name is Joe Sanho. He is the leader of his pack, and his transformation gene is an Australian kangaroo. Meanwhile, our protagonist, also beaten, walks through the corridors and continues to think about his new friend's grandiose idea of creating a pack. He recalls a recent conversation, then he was surprised that a lone wolf wants to gather a pack that will be at the top of the rating. He did not understand why so abruptly. A few moments later, Dongua explains that the reason for creating the pack is that it is simply impossible to survive as a hermit in this school. But to be honest, all the past fights of this Sigma reached half to death. We are watching how this strong man single-handedly defeated an entire crowd. The new friend of our new hero continued to explain that the limit had soon come, and it was extremely dangerous to be alone in this school, so a pack was necessary. Then Jongwoo continues the explanation, but not with his fingers, because the position of the head of the first group in the weakest class will allow you not to fight for rank, because you are the boss. But Yujong was worried about one more thing, why his friend invited him to the pack because he is still a weakling, and besides, he doesn't even know how to transform into his animal form. Our main character, as always, bowed his head down and warned his brother that if he expects something from him, then he should know that he cannot do anything for him. However, our main character's friend immediately denied Yujong's words, saying that he is not a weakling, because he has the eyes of a strong man. Continuing his walk through the corridors of the dangerous school, Yujong wondered whether his friend meant his golden eyes by this phrase or not. Returning to recent memories, we watch as the gray wolf, continuing his explanation on his fingers, asks Yujong not to worry because he noticed a couple more guys in the pack. Some of those whom Jongwo noticed were two from the first group of the 7th and 9th ranks. Their transformation genomes were honey badger and deer. Despite standing, they turned out to be independent. In addition to those two guys, Jongwo also noticed two girls of the 8th and 10th rank, who were also independent and possessed the genomes of a leopard and a fox. This is where the memories ended, because that was all that our main character's friend said at that moment in the hospital. Something else in Yujong's memories. Despite all the lucrative offers from his new friend, the guy in his own way thanked him for the offer, but hesitated. Yujong said that he is not the kind of person his friend sees him at all, and he is not valuable at all. Instead of being useful, it will become a big burden for him. The flow of the story is interrupted, and we begin to watch the gray wolf who, as he descends, reflects on the fact that he should have started recruiting earlier. Dongyun and John Seolwa join the group first, then Yujong may change his mind, which was not beneficial for him. Coming down the stairs, someone meets a gray wolf with the clear intention of finding problems and troubles for himself. Of the pack, already familiar to us, to whom the previous 4 losers who were killed by the gray wolf came, and behind the leader there are 2 more people. However, Jongwoo is not in the mood to talk for a long time, so he briefly tells the budget Todd from the magic battle that if he has something to say, let him speak. However, the muscular guy is clearly not happy about this treatment. He immediately grabs Jongwoo's collar and angrily repeats the wolf's phrase. After this, the guy starts making a grimace and says that Jongwoo should be more careful, because his attempts to create a mess in the ranks will not lead to good things. Jongwoo doesn't even understand why this scumbag got attached to him, because he didn't even touch his pack and what kind of nonsense he's talking about. Then this short-haired guy with a grin says that this is not true, and he really affected his gang, or rather its new members. After all, those 4 guys, Josu, Magwon, Park Yohan, and Park Dassel who fought with him, are now in his gang from now on, so he will have to answer. This guy thanks Jongwoo because thanks to him, there are already 10 people in his pack, and he said that he didn't do anything. These thugs demanded that he quit school. Jongwoo, without further ado, began to transform into his animal form. He congratulated the guy on the new addition to his pack and began to take a fighting stance. Next, the wolf turned to Joe Sanho, telling him to remove his hand because if he doesn't do this, he will get it just like recently. Everyone standing behind Joe Sanho immediately took on the appearance of their genomes and were ready for a fight, while the kangaroo Joe Sanho himself praised Jongwoo because he rallied the flock. In the next moment, the kangaroo was about to introduce his fist to Jongwoo's face with full swing. He also mentioned that just recently he was affectionate, but it was too early for this kangaroo to try to compete with Jongwoo because he was many times stronger than him, which is why he received the blow earlier. Having received a very unpleasant blow right in the nose, Kangaroo immediately stepped back and, acting like a rat, sent his crowd of guard dogs to attack. A moment later, this crowd of animals rushed towards Jongwoo to deliver a barrage of joint blows. However, Jongwoo had a character that did not allow him to simply retreat from a fight, which is why he decided to accept this unequal battle. The course of events is interrupted again, and we move into the classroom where a teacher with a bald head is entering right now. Looking around the audience, he immediately asks the students why there are so many empty seats in the class, to which the students answer that they don't know. Yujong looks back and realizes that there are really too many empty seats in the class, while the teacher demands to open the textbooks, Yujong thinks. Plunging into the investigation as a detective, the guy realizes that Johan, Josu, and Jo Sangho's pack are not visible. He immediately concludes that they could attack the wolf alone. However, after thinking about this theory even more carefully, Yujong understands that this is most likely the truth, and these thugs are going to take revenge. Yujong, clutching his head with both hands, realizes that if this is really the case and his friend is in danger, then it's only his fault. Next, recent episodes of their conversation flash through our main character's head. He remembers Dongua calling him strong. He also remembers that his friend asked him to be the first to join his new pack, despite the weakness of our protagonist. Thinking a little more deeply, Kang Yujong realizes that Dongua is the only person who treated him like a person and not trash. He understands that if now this same Dongua gets hurt by those thugs, what if everything turns out exactly like this? Then in this case, let him also suffer. Because he still has nothing more to lose, Kang Yujong was going to come to the aid of his friend. Despite the fact that our protagonist's body was trembling just at the thought of voluntarily going into a fight, he still tried to gain courage. But even despite this guy is becoming a man right now. Collecting his remaining testosterone, he raises his trembling hand to the teacher. Having turned into jelly, he nevertheless raises his hand and, catching the teacher's gaze, asks him for permission to go to the toilet. The bald, imperturbable teacher, seeing Kang Yujong's trembling hand, briefly gives permission but asks him not to linger. Immediately after receiving permission to leave the audience, Kang Yujong flies out of the door like a torpedo and runs to find his friend. Running through the same gray school corridors, Kang Yujong stops at one of the branches to check it out. Having listened, he hears some sounds coming from the direction in which he is looking. Apparently, there is movement happening there. Having finally convinced himself of this, Kang Yujong again rushes like a torpedo and runs deeper into the corridor and stops to look around the corner. Looking around the corner, Yujong sees Dongua, who is already in the form of a beast, fiercely fighting for his life. Apparently, Yujong arrived at the very beginning of something interesting. Continuing to observe, Yujong sees how his friend skillfully avoids all blows while striking back. Do not forget that he is in a battle against 10. Despite the incredible dexterity of the Grey Wolf, he still misses some blows due to the fact that he is greatly outnumbered, or more precisely 10 times. After he moves away a certain distance after a blocked blow, his keen sense of smell notices a smell that was previously familiar to him. Next, looking at the source of this smell, he looked at Kang Yujong, who all this time had been watching his fight of 1 against 10. Noticing his friend, he smiles broadly at our main character. Apparently, he approved of his, albeit strange, attempt to help. Inspired by the fact that his friend came to his aid, Jongwoo seems to get a second wind because he inflicts an incredible blow on the Kangar, sending him flying. Our main character at that moment simply could not help but notice this beautiful, powerful blow that could immediately send him to sleep. However, after some time, Kang Yujong understands that he came here not to just watch his friend, but to help at least somehow. However, he was stopped by the thought that everyone in this crowd had already transformed into their animal forms, so he very much doubted whether he should go there. But Kang Yujong continued to try in every possible way to motivate himself, so that despite the very small chances, he could somehow help his friend. Continuing to observe inside our main character, the struggle with himself continued. He tried to overpower himself in order to break into the fight. After a few moments, Yujong still forces himself to jump out and lunge to hit the leopard-shaped guy on the back, but the blow is very weak. Park Dasol in leopard form turns around and is very surprised that a kitten struck him right now. Next, this guy, angry, without much effort, throws an elbow into the face of our main character, who felt that he was in the edit. However, Park Dasol does not stop at one blow. He immediately makes a second blow. Starting a whole series, he asks the guy if he has gone crazy. After receiving blows from Park Dasol, the main character immediately falls to the floor because he still has not recovered from the previous beating in the schoolyard. Standing in front of the poor fellow who was trying to move away from the blow, the leopard invited him to rest because very soon he would make dinner out of him. Park Dasol was about to return to the fight, but our main character stopped him by grabbing him by the part of his pants. He was not going to let him go. Park Dasol's 2 legs, our main character did whatever he could to detain at least one person, thereby helping his friend. This seemingly primitive technique worked just fine, because due to the effect of surprise, Park Dasol lost his balance and fell to the floor. This guy in the form of a leopard was simply furious that he could be delayed by this scum. He turned to shout at him, but at that moment a jab was flying towards him. Next, our main character acted like a real Giga Chad. He carried out a magnificent left hook right across the leopard's face. No one expected this from the very last place in the ranking. However, despite the injury, the difference in strength between these two remained, because then the leopard throws Yujong off with one blow. From this blow in animal form, our main character is sent back to work as a janitor because he is once again sweeping the school floor. Once again, Park Da-sol tried to pretend that he was a tough Sigma and stood in front of the lying Dan Yujong. Asking him if he was finished, he admitted that he did not expect a blow from him. But it was already too late, because while our main character was detaining this loser, his friend had already finished dealing with the crowd of thugs. He defeated as many as 9 people. This arrogant fool tried to hit the wolf's head, but the wolf, even after a long battle, deftly avoided the blow and took up an excellent position for a counterattack. Then the wolf, just like Mike Tyson, delivered a wonderful knockout blow right into the jaw of this pseudo-predator Park Da-sol. This blow was especially strong because it sent the leopard to get acquainted with the wall with its head in the next room. Having dealt the final blow to the battle, Manhwa transformed back into a human. He was pretty well battered. It's not surprising because he fought with a whole flock alone at once. Dan Yujong looked at the corridor, which was filled with people in a variety of sleeping positions. He was very surprised that his friend was a real monster. Then this Sigma wolf hugged our main character with a smile on his face and said that he was telling the truth because he doesn't help at all in a fight. Having said this, he laughed in a friendly manner. Most likely our main character was a little offended when he heard this, but he said that that's why he said so, because it's the absolute truth. Next, Dan Yujong remembers that this person is the only one who, from the moment he entered Predator High School, treated him like a human being. Yujong smiles from ear to ear. He said that because he was useless in fights, he came to be a punching bag, because that's what he's good at. Wu Zhonghua laughed and Yujong. He said that he became bolder because he saw how bravely and coolly he fought with these losers. Next, Wu Zhonghua extended his hand to our main character and told him that he didn't need to be a pair. Instead, he suggested that they try because now they are one pack. Despite the fact that the tiger guy was dizzy, he shook hands, thereby officially joining the same pack with this Sigma wolf. Then the flow of the story is interrupted, and we watch a blonde who apparently scolds the losers who were shamefully beaten. The blonde asks if the two of them dealt with them like that, to which the other girl replies that Xianghua did it all alone. After a few seconds, the blonde also adds that today, Wu Zhonghua single-handedly dealt with 10 people from the first group. Next, the guy asks the girl if this guy, as the blonde said, is going to take action. The course of events is interrupted again, and we move to the near future in which we watch 2 guys, one of whom addresses the other at the windowsill. Despite the fact that the guy with blue hair is in the stage of deep sleep, he thinks about the same thing as Zhongwei from the first group. Meanwhile, near future Yuzhong is at the center of a huge storm called Predator High School. Next, we watch as a guy with blue hair, having dealt with a bunch of people, throws a cigarette to the side and tells the girl to follow him. Against the background of these 3 people leaving, there is a whole bunch of people who are sleeping very soundly, as if after the new year 2024. Next, we watch as a kangaroo man, enraged by the crushing defeat, hits some kind of wooden structure with a stick and calls out Wu Zhonghua. However, his act of complacency is interrupted by a girl with blonde hair coming up behind him and saying that there are rumors that Wu Zhonghua recently defeated them. The leader of this weak pack turns around and looks at this blonde named Yung Xianghua. He briefly asks the purpose of her visit. The girl, in turn, without further ado, briefly replies that she came to chat. This girl is also in the first group. She is the leader of her pack. Her genome is a hyena. Meanwhile, we are watching Zhonghua and Yuzhong discussing their future plans. The Grey Wolf says that they now need to have time to lure Dongyun and Seolhwa's packs into their pack. The guy continues saying that if they manage to lure these flocks away, they can easily become the very first at the head of the first group. The problem with the first pack that needed to be lured away was that its members were too self-loving, so they were not the type to obey anyone. Suddenly, our main character objects, saying that it seems to him that he can help in this case. Wu Zhonghua listens with puzzlement to Yuzhong's proposal. The guy, in turn, replies that due to the fact that he is the weakest in the first group, he spent a long time analyzing the guys from their group so as not to fall into their hands. Therefore, after a long time of analysis, he generally understands what each of them likes. He asked his friend if they could take advantage of it. Hearing the story about our main character's analysis, Wu Zhonghua replies that it is both sad and a little funny. However, the Grey Wolf admits that this knowledge can definitely be used and something can come out of it. Having stopped, the Grey Wolf informs Yuzhong that now they should not rush, because first it would not hurt them to recover. Our main character agrees with this. After that, Zhonghu says that they need to get a good sleep to let their wounds heal. Then the guy leaves, saying goodbye to our main character. At this time, our main character is overwhelmed with emotions because for the first time he said, "See you tomorrow" to someone. He didn't think such a day would ever come. Not having had time to walk even 10 meters, our main character stops because he hears some strange sounds from the alley. This guy clearly has something of a cat in him, because despite his strength, he is very curious. It's not for nothing that he has the tiger genome. Looking around the corner, he watches as some girl with gathered blue hair dealt with some guy with red hair. However, despite his deplorable situation, the guy who is sitting on the floor for some reason begins to laugh. And the girl, in turn, standing in front of him and putting one hand in her pocket, looks at this guy with an imperturbable look. Our main character, who is watching this strange picture, is extremely surprised because he doesn't understand a damn thing about what's happening here. Further events continue to develop in that the guy with red hair gets up from the floor and shakes off his clothes from dust and dirt. Immediately after he finishes his hygiene procedures, he makes a quick dash towards this girl. He has a crazy expression on his face. Having closed the distance to the girl, he unleashes a barrage of merciless blows on her, just like Star Platinum from JoJo. However, this girl maintains her equanimity and continues to calmly navigate such a barrage of attacks, calmly blocking every blow of her opponent. However, her abilities were not limited to simple defense. After this girl caught the moment and weakness in the enemy's defense, she swung her hand to strike. This skillfully timed blow reaches the opponent without much effort. The opponent is clearly shocked that the fragile-looking girl is so dominant in the battle. The girl with blue hair continues her counterattack with another powerful hook that hits this guy right on the jaw. Her blow, even in ordinary human form, is so strong and technical that it sends her opponent counting pebbles on the asphalt. And at this time, the girl, who does not have a single trace of her opponent, calmly straightens her tie. During the entire fight, she never even exhaled. She even maintained equanimity. The guy, unlike the girl, received a colossal amount of damage, and thus he goes into deep sleep to count lambs. Our main character, who watched this fight with us, stands with his mouth wide open and tries to understand whether this is a dream or not, because he simply does not believe his eyes. However, this battle is not over yet. The guy with red hair wakes up once again. Apparently, he has problems with the production of melatonin, but this time he uses transformation. This guy turns into not some kind of donkey or deer, but turns into one of the three main predators, a tiger. He tells the girl that she must do this. After this transformation, Yuzhong's eyes almost popped out of his sockets. He was very surprised that the guy had turned into one of the top predators. The girl was so surprised that she even lost the equanimity on her face. At first, she was surprised and later began to smile. Yuzhong clearly hasn't had enough beatings for today, because he decides that he just needs to intervene, jumping out from around the corner and asks to stop the battle. However, the girl in turn is clearly not very happy that our main character intervened at the wrong moment in the battle. Next, the girl, using her transformation genome, transforms into an elephant and prepares to strike a powerful blow. This blow had such enormous power that it made the ferocious tiger look like a harmless kitten, because this blow hit the target. Yuzhong, in his own manner, once again opened his mouth wide and was surprised by what he saw, or more precisely, by the transformation of the girl into an elephant. Next, this elephant raised the body of the guy who went back to sleep and called our main character. Yuzhong responded. Next, we watch as the girl with incredible speed throws the body of this poor guy right at our equally poor protagonist. After the guy with red hair softly lands on our main character who falls to the floor, the girl approached him again like Sigma. Bowing her head and looking down at Yuzhong, she tells him that because of him, she was forced to use her genome and transform. However, this girl with blue hair did not continue her remark. Instead, she turned around and, leaving, said that everything around her infuriates her. Yuzhong couldn't think of anything better than sitting on the asphalt to look at the beautiful sky and enjoy the clear sky. The time of day changes, and instead of a clear day, night falls on the street, the time when hooligans come out to find problems for themselves. Next, we watch Manhwa, who is again facing obvious troubles, but he is still calm and just straightens his tie. In front of him again stands the crowd with whom he fought at school today and came out victorious. Manhwa says that they again pressed the whole crowd on his nerves. However, the leader of this pack begins to be rude to the Grey Wolf, telling him that only he is getting on his nerves. He asks him why he was so furious when he was calm before. Shabby Manhwa replies that it's none of his business, because Joe Sanho is mistaken about something. He asks him what he thinks is the most important in the first group. Then he continues his speech by asking the leader if he knows why the guys from their group do not recognize him. The reason for this is that he constantly pretends that he is strong and cool. Dongua continues by saying that he is pretending to be cool and strong while doing very vile things behind their backs. He calls this guy a cowardly loser. Instead of somehow responding to Wu Zhongwa's words, this brainless thug uses his transformation and tells the wolf that he is nobody to lecture him. Further, this coward confirmed everything said by the gray wolf. Because this cowardly kangaroo took brass knuckles out of his pocket, he was going to get rid of the wolf by sending him to the hospital. Even being in a very battered state, Wu Zhongwa was still willing to accept pain, even with mean tricks, so he used the form of saying he was already tired of talking to him. Next, this real coward, like the last time, sent a pack of his chained dogs at one Janwu. The first of them to lunge was Park Dasol, who made an attack. People made a dash towards the gray wolf, who had already transformed into the form of the beast. Janwu was not at all surprised that this coward would first send his 3 warlike cats ahead. Meanwhile, the guy prepared to meet these people. Even in an exhausted state, the wolf was head and shoulders above these losers, which is why he manages to interrupt the leopard's attack with a powerful jab right in the jaw. After delivering the blow, he manages to block the blows of the other 2 representatives of the feline family. As the battle progresses, we understand that the wolf is still good. After delivering a counterattack to one of the cats, Zhongwa commented that by delivering 1 blow to these cat warriors, they would stop attacking. After the counterattack, the wolf continues with the next blow directly to the solar plexus. This combination of blows will leave absolutely no one on their feet. Having dealt with the cat wars, the wolf turns around and sees behind him a man in the form of a badger who is ready to pounce on him. He understands that the badger should be quickly knocked out while he has the opportunity, because when he gets mad, he can cause more problems. However, his dash is interrupted by a sudden attack by a kangaroo with brass knuckles, but the wolf is able to block even a barrage of blows with brass knuckles. The high combat intelligence coefficient allows Yonghua to analyze that, because of the brass knuckles, his striking power has become 3 times greater, so he needs to finish him off. However, due to the large number of enemies opposing him, his plans are ruined for the second time. This time he is thwarted by a badger who delays him. Due to the fact that the wolf does not have time to react, the badger transfers the wolf to fight on the ground, which is an extremely disadvantageous position for the wolf. The cowardly kangaroo, noticing this, turns to his pack so that they take advantage of the disadvantageous position of the wolf and finish him off. Next, the kangaroo, using its powerful quadriceps muscles, makes a high jump that very quickly gains height. After the jump, the kangaroo makes a terrifying blow with brass knuckles right in the air, which hits the wolf right in the face. The crowd that saw this terrifying blow hit immediately concludes that their leader of the pack has won, and they are already beginning to rejoice at the successful revenge. However, this wolf is not so simple. In addition to the fact that he is simply great in the stand, he is also good on the ground, which is why he manages to perform a painful hold on the badger's arm. After Yongwu injures the badger, which will remind him of that night for a long time, the wolf rises to his feet, even despite all the wounds. Having risen, the wolf immediately grabs the kangaroo by the shoulder and, swinging, offers to take off his crown if it is pressing on him too much, instead of making himself a scumbag. Next, the wolf gathers all his remaining strength to strike directly at the area of the kangaroo's huge nose, which will cause him enormous damage. As expected and calculated, the blow was so well chosen and so strong that it immediately dispels the bestial form of the head of the pack and knocks him out. Next, Zhongwu begins to do mewing and wipes his hand on his shirt as if he had just gone through another easy fight. Those same cat wars that themselves were the first to attack the guy fell silent and could not utter a single word because they were afraid and shocked by what had happened. Turning to these 3 people, Zhonghua briefly asks if they are continuing the battle, at which point these cowards instantly dispel their animal form. However, despite the fact that these people had already dispelled their beast form, showing their reluctance to fight, Zhonghua still intended to continue the fight with these pathetic idiots. A mysterious person emerges from the darkness into the light, who with a grin calls the wolf very scary, but also adds that this wolf will soon end his life. When this girl finally comes out of the darkness, we see that this is the same blonde who previously came to the leader of the pack to chat. She has already heard a lot about Zhonghua. Transforming into an animal form, this girl reports that this is the first time she has seen him so close. She also asks if they met at the entrance ceremony. Next, this girl, straightening her tie, introduces herself as Zhong Sionhua. She reminds Zhonghua that Zhou Sangho told him to stay in the hospital for several months. The course of events moves forward several hours. We watch as someone's hand holds a phone with a broken display. Looking around, we see that vending machines are broken everywhere. There was clearly a serious battle going on here. Next we watch as the one who held the phone was Jongwoo himself. He lies with terrible wounds on the asphalt. He tries to use the phone to contact Yoonghwa. However, Jongwoo has no strength left even for this. After a few seconds, the phone falls out of the hands of the gray wolf, and he goes to bed. Meanwhile, we move to our main character, who at that moment was already at school and walking along the corridors. Suddenly, Yoo-jung thinks about the battle he saw yesterday. He wonders who they are. This is the first time he has seen someone fight like that without even transforming. Remembering the guy with red hair, he also remembers that he had a tiger transformation, and it seemed like he was the same age as him. Yoo-jung assumed that he was from high school. Then he remembers the elephant girl. The elephant is a herbivore, and since she was in a school uniform, she must be from the school of herbivores. The students of that school are usually short. Entering Yoo-jung's office, he thinks that that day the girl knocked out a tiger in the shape of an elephant. He concludes that elephants are not a mistake at all. Approaching his desk, our main character asks a reasonable question why those yesterday's tiger and elephant fought in the first place. Sitting down at his desk and starting to take off his bag, Yoo-jung looks back at where his friend is sitting. He notices that Jongwha is late for some reason. Suddenly, a student with a bald head approaches our main character and addresses him by name. This bald guy says that there are rumors that he has gathered a pack with Jongwha. The guy asks Yoonghwa if this is all true. Kang Yoo-jung, awkwardly scratching his neck, replies that this is indeed so. The bald guy is surprised but does not understand why he gathered a flock with someone who cannot transform. Suddenly, this guy sitting down invites Yoo-jung to tell his friend about their pack, because if they unite, they will easily become the head of the first group. Hearing such a harsh proposal, our main character was confused and tried to tell the guy that it did not depend on him. The bald guy understands our main character and, putting his hand on his back, asks him to tell his friend about his proposal to unite. Before Kang Yoo-jung has time to move away from the past unusual social interaction, someone approaches him from behind again and calls him by name. This time, two girls, Soyeon and Juhyun, called him, and they also asked to join Jongwha's new pack, because they are already infuriated by how Jo Sanho constantly shoots at them. Their genes transform into Serval and Cat. Next, Jo Sanho himself, whom we were talking about recently, comes into the audience. He comes terribly rumpled and with a huge bandage on his nose. He feels out of place. After yesterday's events, everyone looks at Jo Sanho completely differently. No one respects him anymore, because yesterday he even used brass knuckles and lost 4 people to the wolf. Everyone around was surprised that he decided to come to school, because everyone thought that they would not see him for a long time. They also wondered why he did not take off the bracelet of the head of the group. Reaching the end of the audience, this guy decides to regain his former reputation using a dubious method. He deletes a lot on the desk, and it's not her fault that he's a loser. The guy, lifting his nose, notifies everyone that he hears everyone whispering about him. He also talked about his desire to teach everyone a lesson. Suddenly, this scumbag points at our main character and beckons him to come up to him. Kang Yoo-jung has no choice but to obey the order and approach this scumbag as he asks. However, the girl with blonde hair is not satisfied with the speed with which Kang Yoo-jung approaches her boss, which is why she helps him reach his destination with a kick. On the very first day of his friend's absence, the guy again turns into a real floor cleaner at school, because he again wipes them with his body. Having barely managed to get up, this scumbag with a broken nose hits our main character right in the solar plexus, in the hope of asserting himself at the expense of the weakest in the class. He continues the series of blows with a second powerful blow. He says that he did not touch him only out of pity, but the guy accused him of arranging a conspiracy. Without even having time to leave the school floor for a minute, Kang Yoo-jung returns to it again as his home. This is observed by the same 3 people who are clearly unhappy with the fact that our main character is being beaten, because they wanted to earn a place in his pack. Then the beating of our main character begins by the henchman of the king of scumbags. Kang Yoo-jung has no choice but to endure the onslaught of blows. Next, this guy again turns up his nose and calls Woo Jongwa's attempt to create a pack ridiculous, because a pack of people like them cannot exist. After that, this guy sits on a chair and asks everyone inside if they know why Jongwa didn't come to school. Silence in response, the guy decides to blatantly lie, saying that it was his doing, and yesterday he got a lot of trouble from him, so no one will see him for a while. However, Kang Yoo-jung, who is lying on the floor at this time, understands that something is wrong here. He cannot believe what he heard, because Woo Jongwa is much stronger than this idiot. Next, this Chinese Toto shouts that all this time, everyone has been watching his confrontation with Woo Jongwa. But now he is not there. He calls everyone to his flock. Having lifted our poor protagonist by the hair, this guy says that for those who do not join his flock, the same consideration awaits him as this scum. Meanwhile, our main character, who is unable to calm his curiosity, asks the bully what's wrong with Dongua. Next, the scumbag thug lowers our main character, and thus he lands on the ground and expects to receive an answer to his question. However, instead of answering, he watches as the guy's fist is rapidly approaching his face at high speed with the words, "If you are interested, ask yourself." Some time passes and our main character begins to come to his senses in the toilet stall. The first thing he sees is his blurry legs. When Kang Yu-jung fully regains consciousness, he realizes that the question about his friend was clearly unnecessary, because of this question, he was seriously beaten. After the main character leaves the toilet stalls, he barely goes out into the school corridor and most likely returns back to the classroom. Suddenly stopping, Kang Yu-jung thinks for a second whether it was in vain that he took all this, because the pack of Payo Johanna, Josu, and now Jo Sang-ho's pack are constantly trying to cause him problems. Looking at the floor and starting to shed his tears on him, he tried to understand what Janhwa expected from him, what a loser who couldn't even transform could do. Having moved away a little from his tears, our main character thinks about his only friend. Is everything okay with him? Because there is no way to contact him. All attempts to reach Janhwa are unsuccessful because the phone notifies that the subscriber's device is turned off or is out of network coverage. Suddenly, the same blonde with the genome of turning into a hyena sneaks up on our main character. It was she who meanly finished off Janhwa last day. After some time, the girl with a smile on her face informs our main character that his friend was taken to the hospital yesterday, and she was the one who called the ambulance. Having heard this information, our main character does not immediately begin to understand what was just said. He only asked himself again in his thoughts whether he had heard correctly. At that moment, Kang Yu-jung felt a very strange trembling that ran through his entire body. He did not understand what kind of feeling it was, because he was not cold. Our main character understood that at this moment, he should not pretend that he was worried about his friend, otherwise he would be eaten, and the girl asked if they were friends. After some time of struggling with himself, our main character replied that they were friends, and therefore he asked which hospital they took him to. Despite the fact that the guy tried not to show it, the girl noticed how he was shaking and calmed him down by saying that she had not done anything to him. This girl lightly hit Kang Yu-jung on the nose and said that his friend was most likely taken to Rudolph Hospital. She added that he could also use some treatment. After that, the girl with long blonde hair turned around and started to leave. She asked Yu-jung to say hello to his friend in case of a visit. After the girl went some distance from the guy, he wondered where the feeling of fear came from because nothing terrible had happened. Suddenly, this girl, before finally leaving, again called the guy by his name. She was behind at that moment. At that moment, Yu-jung suspected something was wrong because he didn't understand how this girl knew his name if they didn't know each other. Suddenly, this girl with a charming expression on her face said a terrible thing. She warned Yu-jung and his friend if they interfere again, then they will both be finished. The course of events is interrupted, and we again observe how this arrogant guy with short hair sits contentedly on a chair. The guy enjoyed his life, because he lived much better when he could not see the gray wolf who constantly interfered with his life. Remembering the arrogant look of this guy, this dude immediately felt uneasy, because how could he even dare to look at them with such a look? Meanwhile, the smart girl asked her pack leader what he would do when it became known that Jeon Seonghwa had helped them, because others would not follow him. The guy replied that Janhwa would not be at school for at least a month. They would have time to capture the 3rd grade. The rest would have no choice but to follow him. Meanwhile, regarding the brats who lacked faith and devotion, he dealt with Wu Janhwa by sending him to the hospital, so there is no need to worry. This scumbag, who imagined himself as a Sigma, further made his plans. His next step was to deal with Kang Yu-jung. Suddenly, this guy's dreams are interrupted by disturbing news. This bully is informed that Kang Yu-jung is alive and he will soon create problems. Meanwhile, the course of events shifts to our main character, who rushes as fast as he can to his only friend, who is now in the hospital. Remembering this terrifying blonde, our main character becomes scared. At that moment, he realized what a meeting with a predator was like. This is the level of fun of the guys from 1st grade. After several kilometers of running, our main character stops to take a breath. Yu-jung has never experienced such fear in his entire life. Suddenly, non-existent memories pop up in our main character's head, in which some muscled man in scars announces that 2 people have died. After Yu-jung moves away from these memories, he grabs his head because he begins to have headaches. He has never had anything like this before. Wondering what he just saw, he tries to understand what kind of memories these are. He suggests that this may be déjà vu. However, Kang Yu-jung believes that now is not the right time to think about this, and shaking his head, tries to forget about what he just saw. He decides that he can think about this later, But now it is much more important to continue running to the hospital to see his friend to find out what condition he is in. Meanwhile, the course of events moves inside Rudolph's hospital, which was named by that same blonde at school, and more specifically, we find ourselves on the 4th floor. Our main character quickly manages to find his friend, and the Grey Wolf, in turn being in a cast, is glad to see Yu-jong. Coming closer to his friend, he opens his mouth in surprise because he did not expect to see his friend in such bad condition. Looking Jonghwa up and down, Kang Yu-jong asks how this happened, and whether he was hurt that badly. He also asks if he is comfortable in this position. Jongwoo begins to explain to our main character that this happened 5 weeks ago. When he was returning home at night, he was ambushed by Jo Sang-ho's gang. Surprised by this event, Kang Yu-jong said that this was too much. He added that Jonghwa should file a police report against these scoundrels. Jongwoo immediately denied this idea, saying it was useless because there were no cameras at the crime scene. The only evidence would be body odor. In addition, the police in Seoul have always been strange because they very often miss incidents related to predators. Even this very cool Sigma, being so battered, didn't even know where to put his eyes because he was beaten very badly by these bullies. The emotions that the main character experienced at that moment were not anger or a feeling of revenge. The only thing he felt at that moment was fear. Next, Jongwoo was forced to announce something even though it was unconscionable, but from then on their pack was destroyed. Despite this rather tragic news, Kang Yu-jong only felt a sense of relief. Jongwoo apologized for it, but the guy didn't mind at all. Kang Yu-jong awkwardly scratched his head and also awkwardly smiled and said that in truth, speaking about him, he didn't help at all, even caring about him so much. However, suddenly our main character was suddenly visited by some very sharp and very poisonous feeling. Plunging into his early memories, he realized that from the moment he was unable to transform, he didn't even have friends. Or rather, there weren't even those who simply considered our main character to be at least a human being, and not trash. Only Jonghwa became his friend who sincerely treated him as a human being, stood up for him and helped him in every possible way. Kang Yu-jong still couldn't understand why Jonghwa was so kind to him, but in any case, our main character was grateful to him to the point of tears. But after his strong friend suffered such a crushing defeat, he looks like a coward who complains that the group is breaking up. Realizing all this, our main character realized that it was all too disgusting, and he just has to do something. Returning to the real world, Kang Yu-jong picked up a bottle of water and then opened it with a simple movement of his hand. Next, he brought it to his head and then poured the entire contents onto his head while standing with his back to Jonghwa. Next, our main character turned to his friend and asked him not to disband the group, because while the thugs are blackmailing him, he doesn't want it to end like this. After that, Kang Yu-jong, he said that because of this, Jongwo is currently hospitalized. He suggested an option in which he would try to convince the guys from the class. However, the main character interrupted his friend by telling him if he was going to convince, then he would succeed in transforming. Bowing his head down, our main character continued by saying that even though he has lousy fighting skills, if he transforms, the situation will definitely change. And that is why our main character, turning to his friend as the head of the first group, convinced him not to give up. After this inspiring speech by Kang Yu-jong, he began to leave the room. Jongwoo only looked after him with a little confusion. However, the guy understood that this was not enough, because even if he succeeds in transformation, then at least the situation will change. But now Yu-jong is on his own. After all, Predator High School is a place where everything is in the hands of the strong. No matter which of the 3 great predators you are, if you are weak, they will not follow you. Jongwoo, he understood that it was impossible to do this alone. He was sorry that he had to disband the group. That's all they could do. Next, 3 thugs approach the Grey Wolf in the ward and tell him from Jo Sang-ho that Jongwoo should shut his mouth and get treatment in the hospital. However, if the Grey Wolf talks a lot, it won't be him. But Kang Yu-jong, judging by Dongwo's face, he really didn't want to listen to this. Jongwoo answered this idiot in his own way. He asked him if he had brushed his teeth because his breath stinks, so he advised him to cover his mouth. The guy with the wild boar genome laughed, saying that the wolf doesn't give a damn. He also added that when he is discharged, they will come again, and if he needs anything, let him say it. Rising from his chamber and sitting down on it, the Grey Wolf mentally apologized to Kang Yu-jong for dragging him into this whole matter. Next, we watch our Yu-jong, who buys himself a soda from the nearest vending machine. He thinks that even after being reincarnated, much will not change. Suddenly, someone calls our main character. The guy looks around to look at the one who called him using the word kitten. Seeing Park Da-sol in front of him, the main character asked him what he was doing here and what he wanted. Park Da-sol, approaching our main character, hangs his hand on his neck and invites him to walk with him. Immediately after our main character, the same guy with red hair who, as we know, has the tiger genome, approaches the vending machine. While buying himself a soda, this mysterious person decides to follow Park Da-seol and Yoo-jung quietly walking behind them. Next, we watch this guy's telephone conversation. He is happy that he found the phone. He reports that he left someone in the hospital just at the request. Next, the guy asks the person with whom he is talking to stop because, in his opinion, he saw something interesting, so he will call back later. Meanwhile, we are watching the same crowd of losers who are waiting for something. A guy with a mohawk announces that Kang Yoo-jung has disappeared somewhere. Lighting a cigarette, this blonde with a lame hairstyle wonders what these idiots have done. The guy with the hedgehog hair explains to his brother that Young Sung-hwa is the one who dealt with him, gave instructions, blah blah. Well, she talks a lot. In short, that's what this dude explained. Next, this guy suggests that Johan and Da-seol hunt for prey in the Sang area on the main street because predators from high school rarely go there. However, the guy with a large physique refuses this idea because hunting during the day is always a bad idea, and it is simply a waste of precious time. Park Da-seol, as always, decided to distinguish himself. He told his brothers that he would stay here because lately nothing has worked out for him, and this way he would relieve stress on the kitten Yoo-jung. After this whole crowd of losers dispersed, Da-seol went in search of his treasured Kang Yoo-jung in order to relieve his stress. In the palace of his mind park. Da-seol understood that his company were stupid idiots in any case, even though Young Seong-hwa helped them. The entire first group still bowed in the direction Cho San-ho, so now this guy was going to score points and strengthen his position in the rankings. This is the story of how this Park Da-seol came across our main character. The purpose of his search was only to relieve stress by using Yoo-jung as a punching bag. This guy was extremely happy that he showed up just in time, just as he wanted, and now he can throw out all his stress. Assuming that Yoo-jung came to meet his friend Woo Jong-woo, this loser added that his friend does not know how to sense the situation at all. However, unlike the previous beatings, this time our main character answered. This time he answered that he had already met with his friend. However, Park Da-seol was extremely indignant that his boxing projectile had acquired the ability to speak, which is why he slapped his projectile. And after that, he consolidated the success of his slap with a strong kick straight to the stomach. Apparently, our main character became a ball for him. After receiving these two rather strong blows, our main character falls onto the asphalt for the umpteenth time. I've already lost count. He's probably in a lot of pain. After this blow, Park Da-seol stood in front of our main character and demanded that he tell him what Jong-hwa told him when they were talking. Lying on the ground and looking at the clouds, a regular visitor to the asphalt or our main character did not understand why he was interested in what he was talking about with the gray wolf. After all, if you think about it, the very fact that they were looking for him was very strange because our main character did not have half the authority of Jong-hwa. The embittered Park Da-seol was outraged that he was not receiving answers to the questions posed. Approaching the lying Yoo-jung, he asked if his ears were blocked. In the moment before receiving the next blow, Yoo-jung wondered why he was so determined, and it seemed that the feeling was different from the ones before. He also caught himself with the strange thought that now he had time to see the fist before getting hit in the face. However, despite the fact that our main character managed to follow this blow, he still did not escape from it and received it right in the face. Guess what? Yoo-jung was poisoned again on his native asphalt. Park Da-seol, in a furious state, approached him again, asking if he had decided to die. Having not heard an answer, the guy began to kick our main character. Even though he was lying on the asphalt, he decided that there was no need for him in their class anyway. Putting his foot on the chest of our main character, he once again demanded that Yoo-jung answer what Woo Jong-hwa told him, but he continued to remain silent. Taking his foot off the chest of our main character, the guy with the leopard genome took him by the tie and raised him, asking him for the last time. Despite the fact that our main character said a lot of absurd things to his friend, he still didn't want it to end with stupid chatter. The guy got so angry that he transformed into his animal form. Meanwhile, Yoo-jung remembered that this guy is 18th in the overall ranking and 16th in singles. Kang Yoo-jung, obsessed with the desire to keep his words and become stronger, kept an ordinary brick behind his back all this time. At this moment, our main character started hunting for this leopard. He tried to hit the leopard with a brick, but the blow missed. Having escaped the blow, the leopard hit Yoo-jung in the side and reminded him that he does not know how to change shape. So he does not know at all how feelings change and intensify after taking a form. However, in fact, Yoo-jung understood all this perfectly well. All this time, he was busy aiming this brick. Our main character turned on Sigma mode and delivered a merciless blow to his paw with a brick, while he pretended that he was falling after receiving a blow to the side. The blow was so painful that the leopard stopped attacking, and instead he screamed in pain and closed his eyes. After Yujong carried out this magnificent and very cunning attack on the paw, thereby neutralizing his opponent for some time, he ran away. Yujong knew that despite the fact that physical abilities improve during transformation, stamina is lost twice as fast. That's why Yujong immediately started running away after the last trick, because if he chases him, he'll quickly use up all his stamina. And in order not to be caught, our main character Sigma destroyed the ability to move by damaging the leg of this loser. However, this kitten was not so stupid, and even on the contrary, a brilliant decision came to his head to use all 4 limbs to jerk, thereby compensating for the injury. This plan was simply ingenious. Thanks to the use of all 4 limbs, Park Dae-sol achieved incredible speed and reached Yujong in a matter of seconds. The next moment, the leopard grabs our main character by the neck with his big paw. He assumes that his toy is behaving so impudently because of his friend. After realizing this, he once again throws our main character into getting acquainted with the asphalt. This is no longer funny at all. After this, the leopard hits the lying Yujong with its soft paws. He also accuses him along the way that the guy is doing everything on the sly. Finding himself on the floor completely exhausted, our main character realizes that he underestimated his opponent, because in the end, this guy still defeated him in battle. After this, the leopard lifts his toy by the collar of his shirt. Park Dae-sol tells our main character to wake up and fight with his hands. However, without waiting for any answer, the leopard delivers a flurry of blows to Kang Yujong's head, and he, in turn, cannot resist this in any way, releasing the collar of his prey, Park Dae-sol. After a while, he delivers a powerful hook diagonally right to Yujong's chin. Despite the fact that now our main character keeps up with the blows and sees them, he still cannot dodge them. He lacks strength and speed. After this, he falls to the ground due to severe dizziness. At this moment, he cannot even move. He understands that this is his limit. Yujong, watching the next flying blow, thinks about how he will appear at school after this. Now he understands that from now on, things can't get any worse. Suddenly, the beating of our main one is interrupted because some man from behind asks Park Dae-sol what he's doing in the middle of the day, because it is a school day. Turning around, the leopard sees in front of him the same guy with red hair, and simply incredible fighting skills. He says that he is just a passerby. The leopard examines this guy from head to toe, but realizes that he did not see him among the predators. He wonders whether he is one of the carnivores, or whether he is one of the escaped ones. Suddenly, this suspiciously smiling guy grabs the leopard by the paw and notices that he is very worried. Just like a big cat, he tells him that he can relax. The leopard, pulling his hand away, asks what this guy is even talking about. Although he doesn't know where this guy came from, he is aggressive. Next, this leopard decides to quickly deal with this strange guy and tries to knock him out with a blow to the jaw, but the guy easily dodges. Bouncing away from the leopard with incredibly light movements, the guy grins, saying that in this city too, everything starts with fists. The leopard is indignant and even a little confused. He does not understand how a person could avoid his blow in the form of a beast at such a short distance. Suddenly, Park Dae-sol assumes that this is all a conspiracy, turning to our main character and asking him where he found his assistant. The leopard mocks while looking at Yujong. He assumes that our main character has brought another tiger. He laughingly asks who he is, his brother or something like that. Hearing that our main character also has the tiger genome, the guy with red hair is very surprised that Yujong is also a tiger. However, the leopard does not care about all this. He laughs and says that this idiot is also a tiger. He asks him if he knows that tigers are the best. The guy, in response to this, shakes his finger and asks if leopards consider themselves inferior compared to tigers and lions, because he is just as big a cat. Despite the fact that the strange guy with red hair didn't know why he was asking this, he asked the leopard to say what he thought about it too. Hearing this strange tone, the leopard was greatly offended. He warned that he had better not speak as if he were addressing a person of a lower rank than himself. Then this very strange guy pointed his finger at the leopard and laughed loudly, because his theory about the inferiority of leopards was successfully confirmed. After everything this strange guy said, the leopard was very serious about solving this guy. Meanwhile, the guy was calling our main character. A timer on his phone, he told our main character that in 1 minute he would make a leopard kiss the asphalt without using transformation. This was the last straw for the leopard. He told him to shut his mouth and made a powerful lunge towards the impudent tiger. However, despite the fact that the leopard was indeed very fast, this was not enough because the person easily ran away from it even without transformation. The strange man even managed to block a kick from a leopard without receiving almost any damage. After a few seconds, the guy made a very quick lunge, as if he were Tuji from a magical battle. He directed his palm towards the leopard's face. While he covered the leopard's eyes with one hand, He delivered a crushing blow to the stomach with the other hand, a very unusual but effective technique. Then, after a strong blow to the stomach, the guy with red hair decided to show the cat where the sky was using his incredible technique. At this moment, the leopard began to understand that even in the form of a beast, his speed was not enough for this man, because he could not hit with a single blow. And at that time, the man was performing a variety of fighting techniques without any difficulty. One got the feeling that he was already in the form of a beast. The leopard, having hit its back on the asphalt, did not understand how it, continuing to be in human form, continued to beat it mercilessly. At this time, the Toji of this world continued to feed this leopard's kicks. He continued to not understand what was happening. Our main character, who had been watching the battle all this time, was surprised at how incredible this man was. He also did not understand how he fought like that in human form. But now the battle was much more difficult than the last battle he watched, because now there was a battle between a man and a beast. Yujong saw such a sight for the first time. While the leopard was already at the limit, the guy did not even become serious for a second. He asked him to wake up faster because another 30 seconds and he would bring ice. The leopard, whose mouth was already foaming with anger, said that this guy was going to die, but the man asked him to try something different, because releasing claws against a person is such a thing. Meanwhile, Yujong, he understood that Park Dasol was entering a frantic mode in which he could not control himself. He understood that it was becoming dangerous. Next, our main character bent down to pick up a stick from the floor. He did this with the thought that soon the person might need help. However, the man noticed this too, and told our main character that he could only observe and not interfere in the battle process. The next moment, the leopard, instantly closing the distance, tried to inflict a wound with its claws, but this blow was successfully blocked. Moreover, this man was able to carry out a perfect counterattack, hitting the leopard right on the chin at the perfect moment. Because of this blow, the leopard became even more angry and sent a flurry of blows at the man, but the man dodged each blow as if he saw the future. Next, Pak de Sol, gathering all his strength into the next blow, blinded by rage, tried to make a direct blow aimed at the person. However, instead of delivering the desired blow, he once again receives a powerful counterattack, because the person is much faster and stronger than him. After that, this person is already exactly copying Toji from the second season by performing a super fast flurry of punches to the leopard's head. However, unlike the flurry of blows from the leopard, these blows all reached their destination, after which the leopard began to seriously shake from loss of balance. The leopard tried to deliver an unexpected blow, which in his dreams would have ended the fight, but this blow, like all the previous ones, only cut the air. This man did not leave the leopard without his favorite counterattack. This time, the retaliatory blow was especially unpleasant because it was delivered to the spine, and the final blow in the series with his foot right on the street put an end to this fight because this blow brought the loser Park Dasol out of his state of the beast. After that, he flew 10 meters away and rolled his face on the very tasty cement, after which he probably went to bed. After the fight was over, the guy with red hair checked the timer on his phone and was happy because he was on time. Looking at Park Dasol, who was defeated and sent to eat cement, Kang Yujong could not stop admiring how the guy defeated him in human form. For a second, the guy thought that perhaps one day he too would be able to show such combat skill while in human form. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by the same guy, who suddenly appears behind our protagonist's back, which frightens him very much. The guy with red hair shows an appreciative gesture with a wide smile and tells Kang Yujong that he was truly amazing. He especially noticed the moment when our main character pressed a brick in a clever way. This moment made him surprised and laugh. This dude supported the guy's move, saying that he looked very cool, but in general the matter looked desperate. But our hero was surprised that he saw all this. Suddenly this dude says that he knows that our main character has perseverance and fighting spirit. He asks Yujong if this is true. The guy, sadly rubbing his nose, replies that he doesn't know how to transform, and their world is natural selection. He clearly felt sad. While this guy is embezzling Park Dasol's pocket money, he asks the guy if he saw in what guise he took down this guy. Kang Yujong really thinks about it because he won in human form, but there was one caveat. Unlike him, he could transform whenever he wanted. Suddenly, this guy with red hair says that a month ago he also couldn't transform, and even now he's still not very good at it. Our main character, hearing this, is shocked. He simply cannot believe what he heard. How such a cool fighter like him could not transform, and at the same time fought so cool. Suddenly, our main character asks this guy how he became so strong, even when he couldn't turn into an animal form. At this time, the guy thinks that although this kid says that he cannot transform, he is asking about how to become stronger, and not about the method of transformation. The guy then replies that he usually doesn't help people like him, but he thinks Yu-jung is cool, so he asks at least one reason why he wants power. Thoughtful, the guy replies that his school is a trash heap, and he wants to get the power to deal with all the trash in the school. The guy with red hair laughs and puts his hand on our main character's shoulder and asks him if he really likes this. Next, the guy, holding his hand on Kang Yu-jung's shoulder, asks him if he would like to come to Jeonju and undergo training with him in order to become stronger. Next, we observe what the city of Jeonju looks like. It's certainly not Seoul, but it's also a small town where you can calmly walk. A city in the province of Cheongcheongbuk-do, the Korean peninsula. Everyone calls this city the city of thugs. It has been like that since the Joseon dynasty. Unfortunately, this atmosphere has survived to this day, because if you suddenly wonder what the worst city in Korea is, you will quickly guess, because the slums are located right in the center. Hearing where our main character will be trained, he is surprised because he also knows this city as the same city of thugs. However, this ever-smiling and cheerful guy with red hair lives in this city, and he came to Seoul only to see his girlfriend, because the student must come to the master. Suddenly, this guy tells our main character that he needs to go through not only training, but something more than just training. He also added that if he wants to become stronger, he should stop just talking, because this will definitely never make him stronger. In response to this, Kang Yoon-jung awkwardly scratches his neck and says that this is not what he meant, because suddenly he really called him to Jeonju. Turning his back on our main character, the sensei realized that everything was more neglected than he thought. But Yu-jung hurries to convince the guy that this is not what he meant. The guy explains that he still has a long wait before the school holidays, and this place is also very far from home, and the guy will need to persuade his father, which will definitely not be a simple action. Having heard such a large list of ideas, the guy says that if he is thinking about it, then what does it mean he is not yet completely desperate? Immediately after completing the phrase, the guy with the red hair says goodbye to our main character and walks away, because Yu-jung's answers did not stop him from being pleased with his indecision. However, the guy finally said that if he suddenly changes his mind about Jeonju, Yonghwa Dong, then let him find the red tiger, because that's his name and he will quickly find him knowing his call sign. Our main character carefully memorized the information the guy said and shouted gratitude to him. The course of events moves forward for some time, judging by the black eye of our main character, which has become much smaller, and now we at least see Yu-jung's eye normally. Yu-jung usually likes to do. He peeks around the corner and realizes that the corridor is clear. Then he prepares to make a dash down the corridor without being noticed. Suddenly, running along the corridor, our main character's ears hear something, and the phrase "special academician" transports him to the past. He remembers how he, sitting with his father on the sofa, tries to tell him something, awkwardly playing with his fingers on his hand. The father asks his son what happened. Next, the guy hesitantly squeezes out the words, telling his father that he wants to watch something, but he is very unsure whether he should say it or not. However, the father at this moment shouts at his son and says that a diligent student can do whatever he wants, and nothing bad will be said to him. He says normal things with an angry face. The guy was ready for an instant refusal, but what he heard instead surprised little Yu-jung. He asked his father again, and his father again answered that he could do whatever he wanted. In the General School of Predators, there was a system. On the screen we watch the paper. This is parental consent. A system of special academic leave in which even after disappearing for 2 months, academic performance does not change. The losers in the rating duel, as well as students who cannot adapt to school life, all want to transfer, but due to the fact that students cannot get into a general secondary school, the system gives them 2 months to find another school that suits them, and this is what the special academic leave system is all about. Through a request, our protagonist obtains his father's signature, which allows him to take advantage of all the possibilities of a special sabbatical leave. After our main character's father puts his signature on the parental agreement, he asks his son what he is going to do while he is taking a break from school. The guy in turn puts his hand on his head and, smiling broadly, answers his father that he will certainly study. He has a friend in the province and therefore he is going to study there. An interested father asks his son what province his son is talking about, and the guy nervously replies that this is the city of Jeonju. However, surprisingly, the father supports his son and tells him the main thing is not to be naughty, but let him do whatever he wants, and also let him not forget to study diligently because someday he will support his father. Next, we watch as our main character approaches a girl with the papers necessary for a vacation. He says that he feels that he needs him, and I don't know how the girl talks without a mouth. A few moments later, the guy hands the girl the signed documents. He also explains to the woman that he doesn't have a mother, so only his dad signed. Next, the girl with some kind of suspicious, joyful grimace says that our main character's mother died. Nevertheless, she notifies him that the teacher will check the documents and give an answer. After our main character submits all the documents necessary for academic leave, he leaves the room with the curator. At this time, inside this office, a man in a shirt approaches the curator and asks that with the help of 2 months of a special academy and another 3 months of vacation, they usually change schools? The curator briefly answers yes. The curator also informs this man that with the exception of the 3 large, powerful beasts, this year there are no talented students in the first class, and the rating is low, so the curator Maria has no incentive at all. At this time, walking down the street, our main character thinks that after Pak Dasol's attack on him, it will be difficult for him to lead a measured school life, and to quit school or transfer, he must choose one. However, our main character is not going to choose either the first or second option, because he does not want to be beaten by predators or carnivores. The envelope that our main character had just thrown into the mailbox contained a letter to his only friend Jongwei, in which he explained and apologized, but he also wants to show what he is capable of. A few days later, our main character Kang Yeonjung finally arrives in the real city of dreams, the worst city in Korea, Jeonju, Yeonghwa-dong. Finding himself in Yeonghwa-dong, as the stranger said, the guy was completely at a loss because the place was huge and unfamiliar. He did not understand how to find his sensei. Suddenly, our main character is approached by a guy in a school uniform and a slightly beaten face. He tells our main character that where he is going now is dangerous to go, because if he goes in that direction, he will go to Yeonghwa Park, and there one wrong step and you will be left without everything. A moment later, our main character approaches this poor beaten guy and offers him things with which he can patch up his wounds. Next, our main character tries to ask this guy if he knows the man with red hair. He also adds that everyone here calls him the Red Tiger. However, this guy, having heard the pseudonym Red Tiger, reports that this is the first time he has heard about this because he has no idea who he is talking about. Meanwhile, Kang Yoo-jung is disappointed because the guy told him that he is famous in this city, and according to him, finding him was easy. Next, the guy invites our main character to go with him. Because his friends are just waiting for him, he can ask them about his red dragon if he wants. Yoo-jung smiles broadly and thanks the stranger for his help. Then he begins to follow this guy towards his friends. The guy is surprised because at first glance it turns out that good people live in Jeonju, and how long our main character has been here and nothing bad has happened yet. However, as our main character expected, something bad just had to happen. Having reached the destination with the stranger, we watch 3 adult hooligans. Next, we observe that this guy is really a friend of these scumbags. He notified his friends that today he is hanging out with monkeys. He also says that on the way here, he already killed 3. Suddenly, these thugs begin to attack our main character, or rather his golden eyes that attract a lot of attention. They ask him if he is a tiger. Meanwhile, this guy says that he met an idiot who asked him if he knew Choi Kang-ho, so he pretended that he didn't know anything. Suddenly, all these hooligans turn to our main character. The blonde asks him why he is surprised, because in this area, it is better not to mention the name of this idiot. After this, our main character is friendly introduced to the asphalt of a city that is already new for Yoo-jung. The search for his sensei, as you can see, went very smoothly. Leaning down, this rat who deceived our main character shows him the ointment and thanks him for his help. But he gives it back, saying that now he needs her more. Having thrown the ointment on our main character, this crowd of scumbags began to leave. They wondered why this dumbass didn't transform. Another scumbag answered that nerds don't transform when they are beaten. Next, the guy lying on some construction site remembers the words of that guy with red hair that he is famous here, and it will be very easy to find him. But so far, they have only been able to find problems. Night falls, we watch Kang Yoo-jung, who is already left completely without his things because he was robbed from head to toe in this town of thugs. He was left with only a torn t-shirt, pants, and shoes. However, the relative happiness of our main character did not last long, because a beast in the form of a dog appears in front of him and demands our main character to take off his shoes. Yoo-jung at first does not understand what is happening. However, the black dog, hugging our poor protagonist, asks him if he is an idiot at all. He clarified his request by saying that he should take off what he wears on his legs. Continuing his difficult and thorny story, let the main character understand that he has only recently been in this city, but he has already seen all the harsh realities of this terrible city. Walking through the endless dark alleys, the guy thought, even if he finds his sensei, he has already been robbed, stealing his money, phone, etc. The guy wondered how he could now return back to Seoul. The guy understood that if everything continued at such a terrible pace, then he would not be far from dying on top of everything else, who knows where. So he realized that he needed to pull himself together. Suddenly, after walking another couple of 10 meters, our main character finally sees something that he has been looking for all this time. In his eyes, you can read real joy and sincere surprise. Seeing a man who vaguely resembled the guy he had been looking for all the time, he rushed to run towards him with tears of joy in his eyes. He was very happy about the discovery of his sensei. However, this was a completely different person, which is why immediately after this man raised his hand and our main character disappeared, he seemed to evaporate. After walking a couple more tens of meters, something strange happens again. This strangeness lies in the fact that a girl on a motorcycle passes by Yu Jong at such a late hour. Meanwhile, she stops her motorcycle right next to the guy whom our main character had recently confused with his sensei, whom he had been looking for everywhere. However, when the girl takes off her helmet, this man with short red hair clearly sees in front of him not who he expected. The girl asks the guy if he will change his face. In response to this, the man transforms into a dog, and behind him comes his gang of dogs just like him. Now there will clearly be a very serious and no less interesting brawl of 1 against 4.